It's time again for Kelly's Book Club. Yes, I love this little stinger, so you guys get to listen to it. This month's pick was James by Percival Everett. There it is. It's a novel reimagining the adventures of Huckleberry Finn from Mark Twain, but from the perspective of Huckleberry's friend Jim, who is an escaped slave. The early scenes closely follow the tale of Huckleberry Finn, with Jim overhearing he's going to be sold, so he escapes and leaves his wife and daughter to go formulate a plan to later hopefully try and buy them back. Huck also runs away by faking his own death to escape his violent father. But as this new story unfolds, the pair separates and the book hones in on Jim's adventures. The tone turns more serious as it explores rape, murder, and racism. And with me again to discuss this month's pick are my friends and fellow book club members, Lauren Mullinix and Michelle Bodman. Hello, ladies.
Hello.
Thanks for being here.
Glad to be here.
I love this segment because I feel like it really keeps us accountable and reading. How do you guys feel about it? You have homework assignments every month.
We had homework, but it was fun, yeah.
I love it too because it just also like keeps a group chat going within the month, and we have something to talk about and keep up with. So it's great.
I agree. Before we dive in about the book fully with some questions, let's rate it. We rate 1 through 10. So drum roll as we write on these little whiteboards today. Let's see. Okay, 3, 2, 1. Hope you can see that. I know, mine's 6.5. Okay.
7.2.
8. Wow, okay, we're all over the map.
Yeah.
Michelle, do you want to start us off on why the rating?
I gave it a high rating because I thought the writing style was, and like the topic, it was witty, creative, over a very serious topic. The perspective of James as a slave, but also keeping me along for these adventures. And he handled really serious topics in a way that was still enjoyable. So
Yeah, definitely. Lauren?
I agree. I think it was very well written. I loved that it was a different perspective on an old school book. It reminds me of like growing up when you're like forced to read things in high school. I'm sure that I've read Huckleberry Finn at some point, but I thought it was a good read and it was captivating. Not something I would have normally picked up.
No, and that was the same as me. And I think my rating was, I completely agree with you, loved the writing style, but it was such a heavy topic, obviously, and really hard to get through, especially like the way this book is kind of paced out. It's like part 1, which follows Huckleberry Finn pretty close, part 2, where Jim and Huck get separated and kind of go more about Jim's adventures. And then part 3 just was so intense, just, you know, with topics of rape, racism, murder. It was a difficult read, which I know that's the point, and very thoughtfully written, but again, maybe, not something I normally want to read right before
read
bed.
To go to bed.
I know, and then it's like you're stressed.
and it stays with you. I feel like it's kind of stayed with me ever since I finished it. So.
Which is why it's well written and a great book.
Yeah.
Very, very true. So we kind of touched on this. You don't remember if you read Huckleberry Finn. Michelle, do you?
I did, but I think if I did this over, I would read it before this.
Same. Pro tip to everybody that picks up James, maybe, brush up and read Huckleberry Finn first. Because I know I read it in school as well, but didn't, like...
I wasn't the best student, so I probably didn't read it in school.
Fair enough. What do we think of Jim's narration, since that was different? This story obviously being from his perspective this time and not Huck's.
I thought it was really well done. Like I enjoyed that view, and I liked that.
Yeah, I mean, I think it was like raw. You kind of really felt like you got to know him and the challenges and also his dreams and aspirations. So
for sure.
It was good.
It was really interesting. And the mood and tone of this book we've kind of discussed a little bit. Definitely a more difficult read. Anything else you guys want to add, though? I thought it was very thoughtfully written.
Thoughtfully written, not something to read before you go to bed.
Yeah, and I'd say somehow still like witty and in some parts cheeky, you know, in how they used and incorporated language. So
Definitely. And what do you think of the interactions between Huck and Jim? I don't want to give too much away, but Jim reveals a true connection that's different than, for sure, because I did have to research this. Like, was there a connection family-wise with Huck and Jim in Huckleberry Finn? Yeah. But no, it is just for this book, James. What did you guys think of that reveal at the end?
I'm curious if either of you saw it coming.
No.
I spoiled it for myself because I did a little bit of research on Huckleberry Finn before reading this, and so it was the first thing I read. And so I knew to anticipate it, which I regret.
I know. That was such a twist. Yeah. I did not see it coming.
There was a point where I thought it, and then I was like, well, this probably would have happened already. Right. And so then it caught me by surprise, but I had a little bit of a
see, and that connection then in part 3, like towards the end, there was just, I feel like it all was coming to a head, and it almost felt a little rushed, would be my only, I guess, critique as well with this book, is it was all the other, chapters and parts.
Adventures.
Yes, had like a lot to it, and then part 3 just felt like they wanted to end it.
Comes to an end quick.
Yes, and it had a lot. Throughout the novel, too, James meets several other slaves and runaways. Norman, Sammy, Brock, several others. Did you have any favorite character in the book, or do any of these character interactions with James surprise you at all?
I remember really liking Norman as a character, and then Sammy, I think, kind of reminded him of his daughter, and so I thought that was probably intentional by the author to kind of help seed and thread through this journey he's on to find his wife and daughter.
Definitely.
So I thought that was
I think Sammy and James were my 2 favorite characters in the book, because Sammy evoked such an emotion with some rape scenes, and like you said, James thought of her like a daughter. So and the ending we've already discussed. I thought it was a little rushed, but I did enjoy the ending. So ends on a high note, if there can be a high note in this.
Agreed.
Well, thank you so much, y'all. And we already have our next pick, too, that we're going to be reading right here. It's a viral one trending on TikTok. It's called Indigo Ridge by Devney Perry, and I'm told it's filled with romance, mystery, and is one of those small-town enemies to lovers kind of read. I'm excited to dive in. And to join our book club and read along with us, text the word CLUB to 206-448-4545. Happy reading.